Welcome to another edition of Conversations with CASA, a monthly blog produced by Texas CASA, examining issues and trends in the child welfare system. My name is Vicki Spriggs. I'm the CEO of Texas CASA, and we're filming on location at our offices. Our guest today is Brandy Howard. Brandy is a foster youth attorney with Disability Rights Texas. In that role, she often serves as co-attorney ad litem and advocate for youth with disabilities in the areas of disability and education. Prior to joining Disability Rights Texas, Brandy served as a supervising attorney for the Texas Advocacy Project, where she represented victims of sexual assault and intimate partner violence in family law cases. As a prosecutor in Williamson County, Brandy represented DFPS in removal cases. Additionally, Brandy is a licensed foster parent and served as a CASA volunteer in Houston. Brandy, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I know you had a ARD before coming over today, which is the essence of your work. So let me ask you to explain a little bit about the role of disability rights and the type of legal work you perform for children in the child protection system.
Vicki, so Disability Rights Texas is a federally mandated protection and advocacy agency. There is a disability rights in every state. We have a broad array of services that we provide for people with disabilities, free legal services. We have advocates and attorneys on staff, and we help with issues relating to employment, access to transportation, housing. We help with voter rights issues, so access to Social Security benefits, access to medical services and healthcare advocacy. So we have a broad array. As for the foster youth team that I'm on, we represent children in foster care with disabilities across the state of Texas. Our children are placed all over Texas. The attorneys on my team serve in the Austin and Central Texas region, and we also serve in the Harris County region, but our children are all over the state of Texas placed. I have one in Lubbock right now, very far away from me. We've served over 800 foster youth since we've had this team, which we started in 2009. We primarily advocate for issues relating to community reintegration after children have been placed in institutions, mental health access to medical services or treatment, and as well as education. We are usually, as you mentioned before, serving in a co-attorney ad litem role where we're just basically advocating for disability and education, advocating for those issues in the school systems or in the court system. We also deal with Medicaid. Superior Health is the managed care organization here in Texas that manages the medical insurance, health insurance for our youth in foster care. And so we're often dealing with them and even in administrative hearing capacities. So we are doing very hard work for our children. Some of our children are in institutions across the state, far, far from their original home. And we're advocating for them every day.
Wow. Quite the job. So how large is your team, Brandy? You mentioned the team, and Texas is a large state, and there's a lot that you all do. How large is your team?
We do a lot with very little, very few people. So we have, I serve and myself and another person, Richard Lavallo, serve the Austin Central Texas area, so Hays County, Caldwell County, Williamson County, Travis County. I have a case in Hidalgo County that I'm working on right now. I'm trying to think. I have another case. I think it's I can't remember the county, but it's somewhere far west. And then we have two attorneys in the Harris County area that serve in the Harris County courts there. They have a larger caseload because Harris County has a lot more children that are placed in care there. We are working on getting some more additional supports in place, but that's it. Just 4 of us, really. And we have a legal support staff, and that's it.
It's incredible because you all do an incredible job. You come at this from an interesting perspective. You are an adoptive parent, if I read that correctly in your intro, and you've been a CASA volunteer. How does that, or does it, impact your work and how you see your work with Disability Rights Texas?
Well, I am a licensed foster parent. I have adopted 2 kids out of the foster care system, and I was we were called child advocates in the Harris County area. But it just, with all the training one thing is that I've gotten a lot of training on how to be a suitable placement, to provide a safe, nurturing, warm home for children that are coming, that were and are coming into our home. And so I've learned a lot about just the workings of the standards that are required for these homes to have, the guidelines for discipline, psychotropic medications, what are the rules that foster families have to follow regarding that, what DFPS, or Department of Family and Protective Services, requires or believes children should have in order to heal from the trauma that they've experienced. So I know personally from having, a foster child come into my home, from sleeping in a DFPS office and coming with just the clothes on his back, how hard it is for these children to be ripped from their families and everything that they know, and to come to some stranger's house and have to be expected to be the best well-behaved children, or child. Sure. So I have a lot of empathy. I know that, these children need to be in nurturing, warm homes, not in institutions. If we're really expecting them to heal, they need stability. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from when I am advocating for my children, my clients that I have. I'm wanting them to be out of these institutions in a home with intensive mental health services wrapped around that child and the family that they're living with. I also understand the importance of being connected to family or siblings, and so I'm usually pushing for sibling visits or going back and doing some kind of Seneca search to find family members that are out there, or fictive kin or friends of the family, that could step in and reconnect and build a healthy relationship, because a lot of our clients, they've been moved around so much, they don't know what a healthy relationship looks like. And so so that's very important when I'm working. I'm always asking, where's the sibling? When can we have visits? Where have you all done a Seneca search? Have you all searched for family members? Let's go back and look. If you've already come back and, do it again if we've done it prior to. I'm always asking for ways that we can keep our children in the community without having them institutionalized in a residential treatment center or psychiatric hospital. What can we do, or what can the court order? What kind of services can be put in place so that they can remain in the community? Because I personally know that children that have, a lot of emotional weight that they're bearing from all the trauma that they've experienced and being stripped from their families and all that they know, are not going to be the best well-behaved children, and they're going to have behavioral problems. And we need to be able, as a community and as the CPS system, to be able to provide them with what they need, which is a warm and nurturing home with stability. So I'm constantly advocating for that.
Super. I'd like to applaud, but this isn't appropriate. So I'll ask you this question instead. You do medical advocacy, and you, as you were talking just now, talked about the issue of psychotropic meds. And one of the issues that constantly confronts us is the issue of the over-medication of these young people. Is that an issue that Disability Rights Texas would pick up? And then what do you do? What do you do?
Well, we, the children, or these clients that we have, or just children in general in CPS care, they are being, they are tracking their medications, and the court reports those presented to the court and to the other parties. So we are looking at what medications they are on, and are they within the parameters set out in the policies through the psychotropic medication utilization review policies that are put in place by DFPS. So we are tracking that. I have myself and my colleagues have requested review of the psychotropic medications that are being prescribe to our clients if we feel that they're not within the parameters. We have requested that review to be done. I am personally asking for alternative types of therapy to be put in place, because what I often see is that these children are on all of these different medications, and it's not helping the behaviors. The behaviors are still in place, and so they're on all these medications, but it's not really addressing the issue that is before us, which is behavioral acting out or aggression at school or at home. And so I have a client right now where I'm asking for review because specifically she is not, benefiting from the medications she's on. So what I see a lot of times is we'll have children that are acting out behaviorally, and they're on all these psychotropic medications such as mood stabilizers, and I don't see much improvement in their mood. They're still having anger outbursts, or tantrums, and that's more going to deal with, are they receiving the appropriate therapeutic services that they're needing. A lot of our children have these complex traumas that they've experienced from being moved to all of these different places, stripped away from their parents, in addition to the abuse and neglect that they've experienced. So why are we giving them just the basic cookie cutter kind of therapy? We should be looking at some more trauma informed therapy modalities. And so I'm often asking for that to address the behavior instead of just putting them on medications that's not really working.
Brandy, there were so many issues in what you just said. So I think I'd like to ask a joint kind of combined question. Because you talked about psychotropic meds, we talked about older youth transitioning out. Can you just put those two together, if you will, and talk about the challenges that you see with youth transitioning out, and maybe the challenges that you see with mental health issues with children? And sometimes it's the older youth transitioning out with mental health issues. So can you talk about that ball of wax I just handed you?
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you. So what we're seeing across the state, or in the counties that we're serving, and the kids being placed across the state in these psychiatric hospitals or institutions because of behavioral issues. And so what we're seeing is that there's not enough therapeutic foster homes or foster homes suitable to deal with these behaviors or trained. And so we see, instead of the parties or DFPS putting in place wraparound mental health services, and then the issues with Superior Health not being able to provide those mental health services in a timely and an effective way, we see a lot of our children being placed across the state in residential treatment centers. These facilities are not, I feel, and my colleagues feel, are not equipped to deal with the complex trauma that we're seeing in our youth in foster care, and so they're often, their behaviors are worsening or not improving, and they've been in these places for years, and they're moved from a residential treatment center to residential treatment center, and we're not seeing very much progress and improvement in treatment. And so what we see is we have these youth that have been in these institutions for most of their time in care, foster care, and they're aging out, and they don't know, they don't have any independent living skills. They don't know about their mental health record or medical records. They don't have access to that. They don't have social security cards, a copy of their IDs. They don't have any vocational rehab training services. The education that we are often seeing provided at these institutions are through charter schools that don't provide a whole lot of electives where our youth can identify a field or career that they want to pursue. And so, and they've never had the opportunity to obtain driver's education or even work a job. And so they're stepping out into the community without transitioning down into a home setting, and it is very scary. Often our youth in these congregate-like facilities are being abused or sexually abused by other children or staff. And so we see a lot of damage being done there too. We have youth that we have helped that have been in psychiatric hospitals for months waiting on CPS or DFPS to find placement for them. They're ready to be discharged, and they're just waiting for placement. They are not getting education services while there because the school districts are not finding them like they're supposed to. And the psychiatric hospitals are definitely not reaching out to the school district. So they're sitting in psychiatric hospitals waiting for placement, not getting education services.
Brandy, I hate to cut you off, but we've run out of time. I definitely want to have you back because there was so much in this last piece, especially the piece about the sexual abuse of children who have mental health or physical health impairments in these RTCs, because we know their abuse rate is much higher than for other children in the foster care system, which should be 0, but it's not. But this is a reality we have to talk about some more. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time at Conversations with CASA.